So Netflix's Fear Street Trilogy is all on Netflix now, all 3 films, 1994, 1978, and 1666, and I've already talked about them, so make sure to check out my reviews for each of them individually, and I'll link them down below in the description, and I'm very excited to rank these films. I really enjoyed them. Like, this trilogy was a lot better than I was expecting, and these films also introduced me to what screening movies is like. I got to see them before they were released on Netflix, or at least part 2 and part 3. I missed it on part 1, but part 2 and part 3 I saw before they hit Netflix on a virtual screening, which I really enjoyed. I really have to thank Netflix for letting me see that, but let's rank these films from my least favorite to my favorite. For me, Fear Street Part 2 comes in last place, but it's by no means a bad movie. For me, the standout performance comes from Sadie Sink. I love her as Max in Stranger Things, and here, she's just as great. Also, this film features some of, if not the best kills in the entire trilogy. The reason it comes in last place for me is because the first act of this film especially tries to set up all these characters, but it's just not really that interesting, and I wasn't really engaged there. The film definitely does improve as it goes along. The second act is very good, and the third act is great. Like, it is easily the best part of the film, and I know I'm not the only one who shares this opinion about the first act kind of not being all too interesting, but there's a ton of people who have this as their favorite one, and for many reasons I can see why. All the performances are great. They're great in all the films, but here they really work, and of course I think Sadie Sink is the standout here, but these kills are just so awesome. As I said, this film probably is my favorite kills of the trilogy. They are brutal, they are like menacing in a way, and it really works. Not all the characters were too interesting at times, I will say, and it definitely improved as it went along, so that's a little bit of a fault, but overall it's a fun time. Fear Street Part 1 is our runner-up. This is a very good horror film that definitely steals stuff from some horror classics like Scream or The Shining, but I feel like by the end it does shape up to be its own thing. There are some times though where I will admit it does kind of struggle to stand on its own, especially kind of during that first act and that second act, but by the third act, just like part 2, it really improves and just gets better and better and better. As I said before, this film really surprised me, and I can also see it kind of being like that gateway film into horror for people who are younger, but the movie also doesn't feel like it's aiming only for the younger audience. If you're well versed in horror, I think you will really enjoy this film because some of the kills are pretty awesome and they're kind of brutal. This film's a lot more gory than I expected, especially with a meat grinder. If you've seen it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It is everything you crave with a film like this, and yes, there are some times where it does kind of struggle to stand on its own and be original throughout, but I did really enjoy this film. But coming in at number 1 for me is Fear Street Part 3. This one gets the gold medal, and it is my favorite one of the trilogy. I said in my review it can feel a bit like 2 movies in one, but that's one of my only complaints. It has so many chilling moments both in 1666 and 1994. The color palette is gorgeous in so many scenes, and honestly there are plenty of twists and turns, and they all worked for me. I thought director Leigh Janiak, again if I said that wrong I apologize, did a really great job here. She really pulled everything off and closed out the trilogy in a really satisfying way. The film does first off take place in 1666, that's where part 2 ends up, and then we do have to finish the storyline of 1994, so I definitely get the complaint of it feeling like 2 movies in one. I kind of felt that a bit, but the more I think about it, the more it doesn't really bother me. The twists are really impactful and really important, and I think they all really worked. And also, Kiana Madeira, or however you say her name, the lead actress in this film and part 1 is just amazing. She has just this presence on screen that I really love. I really want to see her in more because I loved her here. This one in part 1, and she's not really in part 2 that much, but when she is, great. And everybody in the film is very good, but I will say she really stood out to me, and I cannot wait to see what else she does with her career. Fear Street Part 3 is my favorite one of the trilogy for many different reasons, and if you want my full thoughts on all these films, you can definitely check out my reviews of them, linked down below. But I want to know what your ranking was. Do you share the same one as me? I know, again, people had very different ones. A lot of people enjoyed 2 more than 1, whereas, again, as I said here, I didn't enjoy it as much. But again, these are really good movies. They span from being good to really great. And again, sorry, this is my 3rd time saying it, but my full reviews are linked down below. I really want to start a lively discussion about this, and I will also be on the After Credits YouTube channel on Monday talking spoilers about the entire trilogy. I'm really excited to do that. Thank you, Josh, for having me on when we do that, and thank you all for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Over and out.